Hi YouTube, so this is my Resident Evil 9 Requiem review. I'm going to leave indentations in the video on the bottom, so if you do not want any spoilers, I'm going to put that there, so that way if people haven't finished the game or they haven't watched someone beat it yet, they're going to have that right there. And then I'll have my final verdict for people that just want to skip to the end and see how exactly I felt about the game. I'll kind of have like a brief summary. So, and then in the background, I'm just going to have the trailer playing just so that way you don't have my face staring at you the entire time. So I think we're just going to get right into it. And I have notes on the side here that will be more of like a guideline for me. I don't have it like scripted. I just have notes that are like, these are spoilers. Do not talk about these till that section. So hopefully I do a good job. And I hope everyone has a good day. I appreciate anyone who clicked on the video, and if you could leave a like and a comment, I'd appreciate it. But let's get right into it. So, with Resident Evil 9 being the 9th mainline installment, and not just the 9th game, I mean, they've done like 30 of these games. It's insane the amount of content that these guys keep coming up with. It does a very good job at like kind of coming back to its roots, where and not in like a stale way either, like, because being able to actually go back to Raccoon City and stuff like that is very crazy. I mean, what a crazy idea for a game. Oh, this giant nuke went off earlier in the series, and now we're going back there to see what happened, and why is it still a big deal, and and other than just being like the ground point of the start is insane. So we're going to start with I honestly believe to be the weakest part of the game, which is Grace's gameplay. Not to say that it's terrible, not to say that oh, I can't believe that this is part of the game, this is boring, I hate it whenever I have to play Grace. That's not true. I think Grace does a really good job at what she's trying to do, which is to make you feel like a really innocent person in this dark world that you're stuck in. Like, she has no idea what's going on. She's completely lost. She doesn't know why these people are with her and why these people are bothering her. And to me, it seems like a really interesting idea to kind of give the player back that feeling, because for the last few games, at least of this like mainline trilogy, it's been more of like an action shootery kind of thing. So it's nice to move back into that world without necessarily forcing people into it, because it does a very good job at balancing whether you play as her or you play as Leon. Like, you're never stuck with one gameplay style for too long. So I think that that's very good. Now, again, I think it's the weakest because there are points in the game where you feel completely helpless. Like, I don't know how many times while I played it, I'm like, oh, I'm just dead. Like, I have nothing I can do. So I had to like sneak past a bunch of dudes to get to a point where I had supplies or something like that. And then I could go back and try and kill them or whatever. And then even then, I still felt like, man, I don't really want to waste more of my resources on these guys that I already dealt with in some way. Like, I got past them. But there's a lot of backtracking like there is in the Resident Evil series, so, it's up to you how you handle that. So, I love the idea of going back to, like, a giant mansion to start the game. Like, great idea. Being stuck in this, like, giant mansion that this dude owns that's, like, a healthcare center, and like having these like rooms that are really wide, like big and winding, and you're literally just going through like what feels like the old mansion in Resident Evil. It's like, oh my goodness, this place just keeps going on and on and on. And Victor as a boss seems really interesting too. Victor Gideon, who is the doctor who kidnaps you at the beginning. He feels like a very interesting villain for sure. Like, I don't really understand his character as far as like his development and stuff. Like, I don't remember him being in any of the other games, so I don't know why he necessarily feels like he has to do what he's doing. But he does a very good job at doing what he does. And again, like, I love the concept of him as a person. You know, he does the actor who plays him, very good voice acting. You know, I saw the behind the scenes video that you get after you beat the whole game. They give you like a behind the scenes video, and it was really cool to just sit there and like watch these people play out this whole thing. And all the mocap and stuff they do it's just insane, the amount of work they put into this. Now, for the highlights of the game, I would say are like Leon's parts. Leon is back and he's like a grizzled, you know, secret agent, and he's just back to do what he's got to do, which is, you know, he's on a mission to hunt down Victor Gideon and figure out what he's trying to do. And all of a sudden he has to save Grace now, you know, because he sees Grace getting kidnapped. He's like, oh, I gotta go save that girl. So he runs and chases her, and he does a very good job at his job too. I mean, he's, you know, Leon Kennedy, you know, just a super badass character that whoops the shit out of zombies and does whatever the fuck he wants, kind of thing, while also staying on the job. So his gameplay, I think, is like the main peaks of the game. Like, when you get Leon, you feel a lot more powerful. Your inventory is bigger. Your move set feels a lot better because you have his axe, you have all of his guns, and you feel a lot better. His I think in the beginning when you start with him, you only get like a pistol or whatever, but it's still better than what I felt with when I was with Grace, because he has a lot more ammo capacity. His inventory is massive because for some reason he gets the briefcase again. He just has a briefcase basically size, and you get to just pull out inventory from there. And it's like, oh, okay, that seems a little unfair, but whatever, you know. I just get to grab a bunch of stuff as Leon and run around and kill zombies, where with Grace you feel very like, oh no, should I waste these 2 or 3 bullets to like get this guy to stagger and run past him, or do I just kill him here? Or, you know, there's certain things there too that I just kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. Not necessarily that like the game is terrible, but it didn't feel great as a whole. So Leon running around getting to blast zombies felt really good. His entire inventory feels amazing. Shotgun, machine gun, giant revolver, pistol, grenades, you know, all the normal stuff he usually gets. And then the crafting in this game is a little interesting. So Leon's is still kind of like the remakes crafting, where Grace's is more of like, you get this blood from people's bodies and these piles that you find on the ground. You suck the blood out, and then you use that with like the other crafting materials to get like scrap and stuff like that, or you get these empty injectors to like buff yourself. But having that as Grace's crafting was really cool, because now all of a sudden I can go back to these people that I killed and there's these giant blood piles all over the place, and be like, oh, now I can just make what I want. So now I don't feel as like stuck in one spot. And, you know, I could kind of go back and not feel as helpless. You know, like you feel really helpless at the beginning, and then it kind of like, okay, you can kind of go back. So, you know, it as a whole game, I think they did a really good job. Amazing job. So I think right here, since we're hitting about the 9-10 minute mark, I'm going to kind of get into some spoilers, because there are some stuff in the like middle to end game that I don't really want to spoil for other people. I figured I could kind of talk about the beginning a little bit here and there, and then hop into this. So we're going to give everybody a second to like click over. If you don't want spoilers, go ahead and click past. I'll have, again, to that final verdict indent, and then we'll just get right into spoilers right about here. So, a couple of my favorite things in this game that happened is probably the Hunk fight is my favorite part. I mean, that's insane. The fact that Hunk just shows up and he like rams you through a window And he's like, Mr. Kennedy, I've been looking for you. And you have this like giant epic battle. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, Hunk is always a character that I've been interested in since Resident Evil 4. And, you know, just his insanity, like how insanely talented he is. And, you know, how he can't die and how he always just manages to like win his battles and his missions and stuff, and have him finally run into like the main protagonist is crazy, because he's always been kind of on the side. He's never been like right with the character. So the fact they finally brought him towards Leon and stuff and like had them battle it out a little bit was awesome. I was very excited when that happened. Another thing is when Mr. T returns. So Mr. T from like Resident Evil 2, when you're running around the police department, he decides to show back up because Xeno knows who he is. So it's like, oh, okay, you know. So he just throws his ass at you and you have to run away from him for a little while. And then you have that big fight with him and it's like, man, this is really cool. Like the fact they're bringing these characters back from like the remakes and the old games and stuff, and you get to hash it out a little bit is pretty sweet. I love when they do that idea and they think, well, you know, let's bring back some of the old characters that you enjoyed fighting and stuff, and maybe have this like last little hash it out moment and let's just beat each other up. Coming back to Raccoon City Police Department felt really good. You know, the fact that Leon's finally back where he started, you know, being able to be in that area again and just, oh, this is how these events ended. So like the Kendo gun shop, how that guy and his daughter are stuck in like this one spot and she's infected and he had to like basically hold on to her. Having that like closure of like, oh, okay, he did just sit with his daughter and die from the nuke and stuff like that. Like they actually had their moment together. You know, that was really cool to have that. One kind of interesting thing that Grace had that I was actually very entertained by the idea, but I don't know how it's technically like amazing, is Grace being cloned with these like girls and stuff. How Emily and Marie and this girl named Chloe, and there's like a bunch of them that I guess they came up with, because all those like little girls that like chase you around in the orphanage, they're all clones of Grace. It's not a terrible thing, and they are really scary. Like when those 6 girls are chasing you and that one girl like falls on her head and basically breaks her neck from the second story and then just gets back up, like that was friggin' terrifying. Holy crap. But having that whole series was kind of like, oh, okay, like they're not like fully giving you why her blood is as good as it is. Like they've ran tests, but they don't really tell you why exactly she's the cure until like a little bit later than that, which is interesting. And then at the end when Elpis is just the cure. I mean, you know, they say you have to destroy it or you can release it. You know, you put in the right password, it pops out and they do whatever to it and they use it. Great. You know, I mean, I love the idea of having 2 branching kind of endings if you want that way. But the fact that this thing that you've been told, oh, it's terrible, you have to destroy it, is actually a really good thing. Like it's like, oh, it's Spencer being like, hey, you know, why is the world the way it is? Like, we need to make it better. You know, I regret everything I've done up to this point. Like, let's do something different. You know, I want the world to live the normal way. I don't want them to live as infected from bioweapons and stuff anymore. I want them to just live as a whole, because Grace matters more to me. And then I'm going to kind of get into both endings. I'm not super excited about the endings as a whole. Like, when I played through, the first one I did was you destroy Elpis, which, for people that aren't completely sure, it's the one where Leon dies at the end. Very interesting like spin on it for sure. It felt more like just a random cutscene they threw in to be like a just what if you did this. But all in all, I actually didn't hate the idea of, you know, this character who's kind of done his job up to this point. Like, he's finally had closure and stuff where Raccoon City's done, you know, it's over, nothing, we shouldn't have to come back here anymore. So it was awesome to finally have him kind of wrap his story up as a whole, and we could just kind of move on. That's a great idea. I love that idea. You know, having something go on for so long and then just be able to run past, and you just have this great kind of like ribbon wrapped around his story, and you know, it feels great. I actually enjoyed it. And then when you get done with all that, to go back and then have like, oh, Elpis is a cure, use it on Leon, he comes back, Xeno, they use it on Xeno gets his head cut off, and then you have this like giant fight with Victor, really cool ending and stuff. And then like him and Grace are like in the building as it's collapsing and turning off, and I thought, oh, okay, so they're just gonna kill them both, which seems really sad for Grace. But again, I'm okay with Leon being done. Like, he's done everything he needed to do. His revenge is done. Umbrella's screwed over. He's gotten rid of this virus and stuff again, you know, because now they have a cure. Like, I don't understand what he's supposed to continue doing anymore. So they end up getting rescued by Chris Redfield's like special unit. They just come in and save him. And then, you know, oh, well, Mr. Redfield wants to say hi to you and stuff like that later on. So they're kind of setting up the DLC, I imagine, with the whole, oh, well, Chris is going to show up and they're going to do this and they're going to have a great adventure and stuff like that. And it felt weird to go from one end and be like, oh, okay, you know, it's not the worst thing that could ever happen. People say it's the bad ending, and I kind of agree with that. It's not like the greatest ending, but it wasn't to the point where I was like, man, you know, this is a terrible way to kill Leon. Like, he, you know, it didn't suck to me. Like, it just didn't, you know. I thought it handled it really well. It got to the end of the story. It cut off there. Like, if you had that last fight with Xeno, and I understand you're like super weak and you're dying and, you know, you're doing this big fight and stuff, but to be able to play that out a little bit and maybe like get one final blow on him somewhere, and he just like has to sit there and regenerate for so long and he ends up like dying, so you both die, like, that would be cool. That'd be a great way for that to just be like, okay, cool, he sacrificed himself for Grace makes it out of the building, him and Xeno both die in the building, and then Grace flies away. That feels like a really Resident Evil kind of ending, because the main character now can go live on their own, and Leon's just kind of in this building with his enemy, you know, and he would have died in Raccoon City, which feels like a very nice, like, this is what happened, we brought it back, this is how he ends. So I have to say, as a whole, the game felt amazing. The gameplays on both sides felt really good. The bosses were very entertaining. The game itself is very entertaining. Like, you feel very scared and alone, and then you also feel like a badass and you can just whoop the shit out of anything that comes at you. Like, both great gameplay aspects. So as a whole, I gave this game a solid 8 out of 10, maybe an 8.5, you know, but I really think 8 is fair. I know a lot of people are giving it like 9 out of 10s and 10 out of 10s, and oh yeah, this game's amazing. It's like it's like top 3, top 5, and like, I guess for mainline games, sure, but every game in the series and stuff like that, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it fills the void that I really wanted to. And not to say it's not a great game. I mean, I still really enjoyed it. I agree that maybe like mainline top 5, all time, like all the games put together, top 10 seems fair, you know, but to say it's like one of the best ones, it just feels weird to say, because I think a lot of people are going to see the longer it's out that it's like, oh, okay, you know, this kind of doesn't feel like greatest game. Not to say that it's not great though, you know, it's just not, it doesn't check the boxes that I kind of wanted. So I give it an 8, you know, 8 out of 10. I don't think it's worth $70. Like, I'll be honest with people, you know. Is it entertaining? Of course, but it's like a 10 to 12 hour game. Like, you know, and you're spending $70-$80 for the deluxe edition. That seems a little unfair. So and the replayability of it, I don't feel it, you know. I don't feel the need to have to go back and do it again. So, you know, I just spent $70-$80 on a game I'm only gonna play for 10 to 12 hours, you know. I mean, I could have just watched a YouTube video and felt kind of the same way, but not to say it wasn't enjoyable, but as a whole, I don't think it was worth that much money. I hope it goes on sale. I hope people get a chance to play it, you know, and add it to their collection for sure, but I don't think the price range that it's at, even though, like, it's the best-selling Resident Evil right now, I don't think it was worth $70. I think we're going to wrap it up there. I think that's really good. I think I did a decent job explaining my kind of points and point of views and how I feel the game is and how I wish it was better in certain spots and how it was amazing in certain spots. So if you like the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you disagree with me or agree with me, go ahead and leave it in the comments. You know, I'm not going to delete anything that's not just like hate speech, I guess. Like, if you're just being hateful in the comments, yeah, I gotta delete that. But I mean, you know, let's be civil. You know, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. We don't all like the same things, you know. So go ahead and leave a comment. You know, if you like the channel, go ahead and subscribe. I don't necessarily do these videos very often, as you could tell. I felt very uncomfortable doing these, but I felt like, you know, it would be a cool way to kind of interact with everybody and get a YouTube video out there. I hope everyone has a good day. I hope to see you again next time, and be sure to check me out live. I play a bunch of games, Streamline Gaming on TikTok and Twitch. I'm thinking about getting back into streaming on YouTube, but we'll see about that, because it has to be like a multi-stream thing, and I gotta work on that a little bit. But I appreciate anyone who clicked on the video, and I hope to see you again soon.